You're getting started with LinkedIn ads for the first time. There's three really important questions you have to answer. The first one is, what is the right budget for you? The second one is, what should your strategy be depending on your goals? And then finally, the third one is, how do you actually launch your first campaign without exploding your budget in the process? In this video, I want to walk you through exactly those three things. If you're new to the channel, my name is Silvio Perez. I'm the founder of AdConversion. 5,000 plus B2B marketers take our free courses on LinkedIn ads, Google, and other topics. And then in addition to that, I also run an ad agency working with B2B SaaS companies with about $3 million a month in ad spend under management. And LinkedIn is the biggest channel for B2B. So this is definitely something that we're doing and working on every single day. And my whole goal with this video is to talk to you like I talk to my team members and just give you a really hard, solid truths of LinkedIn. So as you enter this world, you kind of get set up with the right frame of mind and perspective. So let's first talk about budget and how to approach budget. So I've got here a LinkedIn ads budget calculator resource for you. And I really want to teach you how to think about budget conceptually versus just giving you standard numbers. I'll walk you through some strategies that I recommend you get started with in a bit, but I want to teach you how to think about budget and what is the right budget for you depending on your goals and your situation versus just saying, if you're going to run LinkedIn ads, you should spend only a minimum of $1,000 a month or $3,000 a month. That to me is personally not very helpful. So I want to teach you how to think about this. So this resource will be in the description box down below for you guys. This is something that we created for the AdConversion community. But essentially the way it works is with LinkedIn, the first fundamental difference with LinkedIn and understanding budget and how you approach LinkedIn, which I'm just going to quickly doodle out for you here. Stay with me here with my drawings. But essentially with LinkedIn, how it's different from Meta, YouTube, Twitter, a lot of these other platforms, these social platforms, is when you're talking things like, Meta ads or YouTube ads, what you're really trying to do is you're trying to burn the ocean. So essentially the ocean in this case, this is your total addressable market, right? So this is your target audience size. So I've got a little stick figure person here who is, your market. And really what you're doing is you're casting a really wide net and then you are letting the algorithm do a lot of the heavy lifting to reach the right people. This is fundamentally different from how you approach LinkedIn ads. With LinkedIn ads, you're not trying to burn the ocean like in this example here. What you're really trying to do is you're trying to burn the pond. So burning the pond means you're only interested in a very small subset of people within this larger ocean, right? As an example. And the reason why is because with LinkedIn ads, the greatest advantage that you have over other platforms is targeting. With LinkedIn, you have the ability to target not just based on the contact, the person, but also the company. And in addition to that, you have a ton of different criteria for you in terms of job titles, seniority, function, member skills, member groups, industries, degrees. There's the list goes on. There's over 255 different attributes that you can use to reach the right audience on LinkedIn. Now, LinkedIn is absolutely more expensive as well compared to other platforms. So for context, the average cost per view on YouTube can range from 5 cents to 19 cents, depending on the targeting option. Meta ads, it can range quite very dramatically as well. It can be as low as $5 to $15, depending on what type of audiences you're using. When it comes to LinkedIn, the average CPM can range from $20 on the low end to $90 on the high end. And generally speaking, the way to think about CPMs and cost of distribution is the smaller the audience size, the more expensive it's going to be for you to actually reach this audience. And the reason why with LinkedIn that we want to burn the pond and not burn the ocean is because we're already paying a premium in terms of our distribution costs. And we want to make sure that the impressions that we are paying for are only going after a very, very small subset of people that represent our dream clients, the most valuable people we could ever be running ads to. And you are doing LinkedIn ads well when even if you never got a single conversion, meaning from last touch, from your ads directly, if the impression itself is valuable. This is something I'm always talking about with clients is when you start off with LinkedIn ads, we want to nail the targeting so that the impression itself is valuable. And then from there, now that we know we have nailed the targeting, right? So let's say this is our targeting and they're just not reacting in the way we want them to, meaning they're not engaging with our ads or they're not converting on our offers. Well, the problem isn't the targeting. We're getting in front of the right people. We've validated that. The problem is the experience we're creating for these individuals, right? The offers we're promoting, the ads, and the actual experience in terms of the funnel we're creating to try to convert that traffic and move them further along in their buyer's journey. So quick context on LinkedIn. Now that you have this in mind and you understand the importance of audience and the dynamic of audience, when you're thinking about your budget, really with LinkedIn ads, now that you're really clear on like, this is the very specific group of people that I want to make sure that I am famous to, right? That I create this celebrity with, you want to get clear on what does that audience size actually look like. So here in the calculator, you're going to drop in your audience size. If you're not sure, because you're just getting started with the first time, in LinkedIn ads, just create a free LinkedIn ads account. Super basic. I think there's like way too many videos showing this. Like I think you guys are smart enough to know how to create a LinkedIn ads account. So I'm not going to waste my time on that. But just come here under audiences, go to saved audiences in the plan section, create an audience. And this is called the LinkedIn Ads Insights tool. And using this tool, what you can do is you can adjust your targeting and you can preview your target audience before spending a single dollar. This is so valuable, and I highly recommend if you're serious about LinkedIn and you want to make this work for you and your business or for your clients, whether you're doing this in-house or you're doing this as an agency, make sure you spend the time to really preview your audience here. So for context, let's just do this together really quickly. I think there could be like a whole separate video just on audiences. And if you guys want that, definitely let me know in the comments. But here you can see, I'm going to go after the United States and I'm going to narrow this audience down further. And you can see there's so many different options here in terms of how you can do this. For the sake of simplicity, I'm going to go to job experience, job titles. And let's say I want to focus on VPs of marketing, because those typically do well for us. And if I come here and I click apply on the bottom, you'll see here now I can preview this audience. Who is actually in this audience that LinkedIn is matching with on the back end of their database? So in this case, I've got an audience size of 85,000. So I'm just targeting vice president of marketing in the United States. So our audience size in this hypothetical example is 85,000. What I could do as well is I can come here to member, which is one of my favorite. And I can scroll all the way down here to the bottom and I can see what are the titles that are triggering for this specific audience that I've created. So in this audience of vice president of marketing, I'm also showing up for heads of marketing, marketing specialists, vice president, sales specialists, heads of sales, VP of sales, and so on and so forth. And the reason why I'm seeing multiple types of titles pop up, even though I'm targeting only one specific title here, is because there's a thing called super titles in LinkedIn is kind of like what we call them. And just to like quickly show you what that looks like in practice, I'm actually going to go to LinkedIn. And if I go to LinkedIn and I'm just going to click on my profile here, if I have multiple open roles, so for context, like I am the founder of AdConversion, but if I was also the VP of marketing of some company, so I was the VP of marketing, that was my full-time job, and then I was the founder of my own startup, part-time. Basically what LinkedIn is doing is it's looking at both open roles and then it's mixing and matching. So that's why it's not 100% perfect, but it's pretty darn good. So you want to make sure you come in here, you preview your audience size, you get the audience size, and then you really build up your exclusions so that you can like just hack away at all of the irrelevant titles as much as possible and really build a solid audience. Again, we can do a future video on this if needed, but really want to make sure you figure out the audience piece, you get that, and then you get the audience size. So from there, I'm going to grab the 85K here. I'm going to drop that here into the calculator. And now it's going to ask me, what is my CPM, my cost per 1,000 impressions? So again, it can range dramatically, but generally speaking, the lower the audience size, the more expensive the CPMs will be. But it can range between like $20 and $90. If you've ran LinkedIn ads already, just go into LinkedIn and see what your average CPM is for that audience. Let's just say for the sake of demonstration, it's $20. Now we want to choose the frequency. So how often do we want to actually show up to people in this audience? Again, with LinkedIn, we want to become famous to a very specific group of people because they are the best of the best, right? And we want to make sure we have the opportunity to create brand recall with them and drive them to some meaningful business outcome. So the frequency here is how often you want them to see your ad. So as a general rule of thumb, I would say put 3 as a starting point. Bare minimum obviously is 1, but if you're doing ABM and you're trying to reach multiple people within companies, frequency matters. So I would start with 3. And then next, you want to make sure you put the percentage of the audience that you want to reach. So if you're really going like in the way I'm describing and you're really focusing on a tight-knit audience, I would recommend that you focus on a penetration of 80%. At the very minimum, you can do 60%, but I wouldn't personally dip lower than that. So when it's all said and done, when we add these details here, you can see the required budget to reach an 80% audience penetration with a frequency of 3 of a size of 85K is going to be $4,000. So if I want to reach this penetration every single month, then I know my budget has to be $4,000 a month in order to actually hit this distribution and awareness goal that I have. This is the first most important part that I think people miss with LinkedIn, because they go on LinkedIn and they treat it like Google Ads. And it's not the same thing. With LinkedIn, you're really trying to paint a story and like craft an experience for people and move them into some sort of mechanism and build that brand recall, so that now eventually they look you up directly, they go through organic, they convert on SEO, or they convert on your ads. But the main benefit of LinkedIn and really paid social is to drive that ad recall and build that brand affinity and trust. So anywho, the other thing too I will mention here on this calculator is if you do have a budget in mind, so like let's say your budget is 10K a month, you can just put that in here. And this is like a quick way to know like what is the maximum audience size you could afford depending on your CPMs that you put here and your frequency. And this is where, this is like, again, like the whole goal here is to teach you how to think, not just, give you like declarative statements of like, hey, this is the budget for you, because it's never like that cut and dry. With this being in mind, now you can really start to see and understand like where vanity metrics like CPMs actually start to make a difference. So for context, like if my CPM is $20, that means I need a budget of 4K. If my CPM jumps up to $30, now I need a budget of 6K. So this is where it really starts to matter, these vanity metrics that we typically don't, care about. This is where it really starts to impact your distribution. So now that you understand the impact of this metric, now you can optimize against it. So in the future, when you launch your campaigns, you start to optimize your campaigns, you can think, okay, I'm really focusing on penetrating a certain percentage of this audience, of this target accounts, for an example. How can I drop my CPMs and improve my engagement? So now you can test different campaign objectives and see, oh, if I run brand awareness versus engagement, will I get a reduction in my CPM distribution, which can allow me to reach more people, rack up a higher frequency, increase my audience penetration. I hope you guys are following along, but I really wanted to like give you the why and the how, and not just like spoon feed you stuff. So moving on, now that we're clear on the budget, I want to walk through some ideas of strategies for you to get started, just to get off the ground. Generally speaking, when I'm speaking with clients in the B2B space, like these are the two most like tried and true, safest places to start. My opinions on this would definitely might change over time, but as of right now, at the time of this recording, this is what I would recommend as like a cookie cutter starter approach. So the first, most simplest and guaranteed way to get started is remarketing. So if you're not familiar, remarketing is targeting people that have already interacted with your brand in some way, shape, or form. So this could be website visitors, people that have visited your LinkedIn company page, people that have interacted with your ads if you're running ads. So you can take these people who already ideally like, know, and trust you, and now you can retarget them and make sure you continue to serve ads and continue to stay top of mind for these individuals. When it comes to B2B specifically, timing is your number one enemy. This is the thing that is going to hurt you more than anything else. It is the one thing that we all have against us compared to B2C, where you have a much shorter sales cycle. People can impulse buy. Timing is also a factor, but it's not as prevalent and potent in terms of like impact of your success compared to B2B. It could be exactly the right person, but the wrong time, and you're not going to get the deal. So remarketing is even more important in a B2B context and environment where you're dealing with longer sales cycles. You want to make sure you actually stay in front of the people that matter, and you continue to nurture and develop that relationship. Like the way I explain it to clients is like, we don't want the party to stop. Like people are finding you some way, shape, or form today, whether it's through SEO, organic social, or ads from other platforms. Like let's keep the party going, right? And that's where remarketing comes into the picture. So with remarketing, there's two campaigns that I recommend you start with as like an absolute bare minimum. And in terms of budget, if I have to give you a cookie cutter response, I would say like no more than 1,000 minimum, and like 1 to 3K is like the good starting point for remarketing. And this is assuming, of course, you have a small audience size. Really what you want to do here with the two campaigns is you want to focus on thought leader ads and conversation ads. So Thought leader ads are awesome because a thought leader ad is basically taking a native organic post on LinkedIn and then boosting it with ads. So thought leader ads are awesome because the ad is native to the platform, right? People don't it doesn't look like an ad. So just if you've never seen thought leader ads before, you guys can definitely come to our blog. And in the AdConversion blog, we've got a ton of resources. We also talk about this too in our course. But basically here, just to show you some quick examples, thought leader ads, they look like an organic post and you're just boosting it. You're promoting it with ads. So you're guaranteeing the distribution of that content. And the good thing about thought leader ads, we've compared this against standard company page ads. And as you would imagine, because it's coming from an individual, it looks more organic to the platform. People react better to it. They respond better to it. So they typically have the higher click-through rates, better view rates, better engagement rates, lower CPMs. So just generally much better distribution and performance for this ad type. So for remarketing, you're going to focus on thought leader ads. This could be with images or video or even just standard text, but I would recommend image or video. You're going to boost that to your remarketing audience. So in this case, like web visitors, LinkedIn company page visitors, etc. And then the second campaign you're going to do is using conversation ads. And in the conversation ads campaign, this is really where we're going to try to drive some sort of direct response and get them to convert. So conversation ads, if you guys aren't familiar, if you come here into the LinkedIn ad library, this is a great tool where you can basically look up inspiration of different ads to inform your strategy. And if you search first name like this is a personalization macro that can be included in conversation ads and spotlight and text ads. Basically, you can search first name and then the name of the offer that you want to promote. So like demo, and then you can search it. And then this will pull up examples of conversation ads. So like just clicking on this first example, a conversation ad is a message that goes into the user's inbox where you're able to create a conversation where you set up multiple different responses that you want the user to take. So I've done a ton of videos on conversation ads on this channel if you want to check those videos out. But essentially, these are really great at driving conversion. So kind of walking through the strategy here, you have thought leader ads that are either from like your founder, your CEO, from clients, from employees, but you're taking content that is valuable. It addresses the problems you solve. You can also try to make a direct response offer in the actual thought leader ad by adding the link in the post. But essentially, the main purpose here is you want to build affinity and trust, stay in front of them. And then the conversation ad is like the 1-2 where the conversation ad now goes into the person's inbox, sends more personalized message, and tries to get them to take the next step in terms of converting on your primary offer, whether that's like free trial, demo, or so on and so forth. So this is the first starting point that I would recommend. The next one, if we're talking prospecting, again, going back to the analogy of like you want to burn the pond, not the ocean, is you really want to go specific and take advantage of the account-based targeting. So with LinkedIn, you have the ability when you create audiences to target based on company list. So for context, if I come here, you can see I can list upload and I can upload company lists into LinkedIn, and then I can target these lists. So if you've never done that before and you want to learn more, just let me know in the comments. But basically you would just come here under matched audiences, you'd create a matched audience, and then you would do a company or contact list, and then you would just need to import a CSV of company names and domains. And this is something that can also be automated as well through your CRM, so you can do this dynamically. But basically, using a account list plus job titles is going to make it very, very specific and reduce the total budget that you need in terms of like actually getting in front of this audience and reaching a high enough audience penetration where you can actually create some real brand affinity and trust and drive some direct response. So for context, like for me, what this might look like is I have, let's say I'm trying to drive business in the cybersecurity space. So I might have like a list of accounts of cyber companies, and then I'm going to combine this with titles of VPs of marketing, right? As an example, right? Or CMOs. So these two together will allow me to have a much smaller audience size, but the quality of that audience is so much greater. In addition to this, the other really important thing that I will add is you want to make sure that you monitor your audience size. So like just to give you guys a general rule of thumb, like of what's what's a good audience size, because I see that come up often with beginners, is generally speaking, you want to have an audience size less than 250,000. That's really like the sweet spot. If it's more than 250, you typically have an opportunity to like filter that audience size down much further and really take advantage of like, the combinations of audience criteria where you can combine titles and lists and other things to really like shrink it down to be more and more potent. So if you need a general rule of thumb, I typically tell my team, like, let's keep it less than 250. If it's more than 250 and it's on point and you're really happy with the quality of the audience that you're seeing, then that's fine. Like, feel free to break that rule. You know what I mean? As long as the caveat here is that it is on point. That's what I'll leave with you guys with that. Okay, so now that we talked about budget and some strategies that you can implement, let's just quickly walk through actually launching your first campaign so that you don't, explode your budget in the process. The really interesting thing about like ads is it's like one of those few things where the difference of a click of a button can really make a huge deal in terms of what happens. So just like quick run through of the LinkedIn ads platform here is you have campaign groups, you have campaigns, and you have ads. So that's kind of the hierarchy. So within groups, you have campaigns. Within campaigns, you have ads. You can think of groups as like folders or tags. It's just basically how you want to group campaigns underneath it. In terms of campaign groups, there's not like a hard rule. The main thing is that you have some sort of like rhyme and reason. So for context, like you could build different campaign groups based on region. So if you're running ads in North America, EMEA, APAC, you could have 3 different sets of groups. You could break it out based on the stage of the funnel. So for you, that might be like tofu, mofu, bofu. For us at AdConversion, and what we teach is like the 5 stages model. So that's create, capture, accelerate, revive, and expand. It could be based on the offer. You have one group for demo requests, one for webinar, etc. So really just depending on your goals and your budget, just choose a campaign group that makes sense. You could always come back in the future and update the name, so no stress. The second thing is now when you're actually in the campaign, you're going to come here and click create campaign. And you have a bunch of options here in terms of campaign objectives. And these are a lot of things to take in consideration around campaign objectives. I feel like this could be a whole separate video, but just to like run through this to give you what you need just to get started and like get your first campaign out the door. Awareness campaigns are really great when you are trying to really optimize for a lower cost per 1,000 impression. You want more distribution at a discount. That's when I would be considering brand awareness. So if I'm like, okay, I really want to make sure that this content gets seen, this event is seen, etc., and I really want to reach a higher audience penetration, brand awareness is great for that. If you're more so inclined where you want to get charged if somebody actually clicks on your ads and goes to your website versus just being served the ads, you want to be charged like on a link click basis. Website visits is much better for that. And then you could also, like a cool tip here is you can use website visits with the spotlight and text ads because those placements typically get much less clicks because of where they are. So you're basically getting like free impressions because unless somebody actually clicks it, and people often don't click it, you're basically getting a ton of free impressions. So it's really cool. So that's when I would consider website visits if you want to just get charged on a link click basis. The second one is engagement. So engagement is really good when you want to focus on driving more reactions on your posts. So like more likes, more shares, more comments. And this is really awesome because if you can pair engagement with thought leader ads, which is like one of my favorite combinations, because the native organic post already has really good organic traction in terms of reactions. If you then use engagement alongside it with thought leader ads, it really allows you to dramatically improve the reactions of that post. And it matters because if these are signals to the LinkedIn ads auction, where if your ad is resonating more, it's getting more positive responses, they will reward you with lower CPMs and more distribution. So using this with thought leader ads is an awesome combination. Video views is really when you want to focus on driving more views of your video. So typically if you're running videos, you would do this. That's pretty much straightforward there. Lead generation is when you want to focus on driving leads, but you want to use LinkedIn's native lead forms. So these are like little forms that pop up that will pre-populate a lot of the person's information. So for context, like instead of them clicking on the ad and going to your landing page or website, they'd click on the ad, a form would pop up, and then it would just ask them for like their work email. And then a lot of the other information that you ask of them could already be pre-filled based on their LinkedIn profile URL, meaning they don't have to write it out. meaning higher conversion rates for you because of the form process is much more simple. The downside though with this could be quality. So that could be, a whole separate conversation, but this is really great if lead gen is important to you. Website conversions is good if you want to drive people to a landing page and drive some sort of conversion action. Lead generation, website conversions, like conversion-based campaign objectives are more expensive. They have higher CPMs. The cost of inventory is greater. So if you are going to use these conversion objectives, just know you're going to pay a premium on that distribution. So you really want to make sure that the cost per lead, the cost per MQL, the cost per op makes sense to run that play. And then talent leads and job applicants is like not relevant for like 99% of people I speak with. So I probably won't spend too much time there. So let's just move on here. Let's click engagement. This is the first trap. Make sure you choose classic so you have all of the options available and not accelerate. So let's click next. You want to actually make sure you give your campaign, a logical name. So you want to follow some sort of naming convention, just so you guys know, and not to like spend too much time here. But in our website, if you come here, all of our courses are free. You can take our LinkedIn Ads 101 course that's taught by Jan Burke, and he walks you through like a naming convention that you can use for your campaigns, campaign groups, how to set this all up. So he walks you through it in much more detail in the course. So definitely check this out. And the whole course you guys can do in 2 hours and 6 minutes because no lesson is longer than 10 minutes. But the main thing I want to stress here is have some sort of like rhyme and reason of like how you name your campaigns. So like for simplicity, I'm going to do region, campaign objective, and then like ad type. So thought leader. And that's it. So now it's like super obvious. And then this is going to make life really easily in the future because reporting sucks in LinkedIn. And a lot of the reporting you're going to do is being based on your ad names and your campaign names. So make sure you're very explicit with what's going on. Okay, moving on. Here is where you would actually add your audience. So if you spent the time to build the audience in the Audience Insight tool and you created it as a saved audience, you would see it here as an opportunity for you. And then you can come here, you can apply that said audience, and now it would, pass over all of the characteristics. So you can always look here as a reference to make sure you're within, a reasonable amount, less than 250. And then from there, you would, all your exclusions would be applied and so on and so forth. The next trap I want you guys to avoid when you're launching your campaign is audience expansion. So there's like, not to get too derailed, but there's like pros and cons to everything, right? It's really like understanding the root of the tree and like why it's grown that way and why the beliefs are there. But just to kind of give you guys some quick context here, audience expansion basically means that LinkedIn can go outside of the audience that you've given them and reach other people that they feel are relevant based on what you told them. If you're just getting started, like let's make sure that you're really focused on, again, like that super core tight audience cluster that you're going after and not diluting your focus. So uncheck this button to just make sure you're laser focused on the people that matter. Get traction with them, and then when you want to scale in the future, you can scale through adding in different audience attributes, and then maybe one day you can check the audience expansion button and see how it performs for you. Moving on is your ad format. So depending on what you want to do, choose the right one. I'm going to actually just choose single image ads here. And next is your campaign tracking parameters. These are really cool, and this could be a separate video. Basically, what LinkedIn did was they allowed us to apply an account level tracking parameter template. So now all of your links automatically get associated with the UTMs. This is like kind of nerdy and technical, but why this matters is one, it's going to make your life much easier in terms of like, now you no longer have to worry about like tagging your links individually, which is kind of a pain in the butt. But the second reason why this really matters is because now you're able to use the same ad across multiple campaigns. So if I had one campaign that's using thought leader ads, leveraging the engagement objective, and then I had another campaign that's using the brand awareness objective, but it's pointing towards the same ad, I don't have to create a new ad because the link is unique, where now LinkedIn would create a duplicate. I can use the same ad across multiple campaigns using multiple objectives, which the outcome of that means more social proof, more stacking of proof, which means better reactions, better CPMs, better engagement, better CTRs, and so on and so forth. So If you want to just, like as a starting point, you can just take a screenshot of this and leverage this for you, and just leverage this, apply it at the account level. So now you don't have to put it here every time at the campaign level. And it's really great to just streamline things. Moving on is placements. This is the next trap I want you guys to avoid. Just uncheck the LinkedIn audience network. This is basically like the equivalent of Google's display network, but for LinkedIn. And the reason why we personally do not recommend using the LinkedIn audience network is because you don't have a lot of visibility on where your ads are being seen. You also don't have a lot of visibility on how the ad is actually rendered on the placements. So we really just want to focus on like running ads on LinkedIn, right? That's the main goal. That's the main focus. And not running ads outside of LinkedIn where we can't really control it and focus on it. If you really want to do a lot more audience network, like advertising on the open internet, then I really recommend that you get into like programmatic advertising and you learn more about like online video, connected TV, things like this where you have more control. And then you can sign up for like a third-party DSP, a demand-side platform, where you can run programmatic ads with much more effectiveness. So moving on is your budget and schedule. So our general rule of thumb here is like no less than $50 a day in daily budget. That's like a general rule I've told my team. Just make sure that like, especially with the cost of LinkedIn and the average cost per click, it just means that you can actually, drive more impressions or more clicks depending on your objective, and make sure your ads learn fast enough before they get shut off. So that's what I would recommend there. And then for the bid strategy, the default option works for the most part. So in this case, maximum delivery. But if you did want to be more constrictive in terms of getting more bang from the LinkedIn ads auction for a lower cost, you could switch to manual bidding. And then you can basically what is called floor bidding, where you set your bid to the absolute bare minimum. So for context, if I put like 0 here, it's going to say 0 may be a bid that is too low, bid higher. And you can see here, we recommend bidding 165. So if I wanted to floor bid, I might put it at $1. Launch the campaign, see how it does. Am I getting a lot of like spend per day? Is my reach looking good? If I'm too throttled and I'm not bidding aggressively enough for the competition and the auction, then you start to ramp this bid up over time. So from 1, I go to 130, then I see how it does, then I move up to 150, and eventually what you can do if you cost bid like this is like you can find this equilibrium between cost and the distribution of that cost and how often you're actually able to spend your daily budget. But this takes more work. I think it's worth manual bidding for conversion campaigns and lead gen campaigns because you're dealing with much more expensive CPCs. But for awareness, engagement, video views, typically maximum delivery is fine. And then if you're really getting strategic about this, then you could switch it over to a manual bid and see if you can get some more breaks on your distribution costs. Okay, last but not least here is conversion tracking. This deserves a whole separate video, but like the key thing I want you guys to take away is like you can only manage what you measure, like what Peter Drucker once said. So make sure you have conversion tracking set up so that you understand, did people actually take that direct response and so on and so forth. And one other thing I will mention here on conversion tracking is, especially for B2B, where it is harder to get signals and data faster to be able to iterate and test and optimize, is you really want to be thinking about conversion tracking in terms of leading and lagging KPIs. So leading KPIs are things that happen within a 7 to 14-day period. Lagging KPIs are things that happen after a 14-day period. And you really want to be asking and thinking to yourself, like, what are these early signals? Like in the product world, we call them proxy metrics. What are the proxy metrics that we can control that will help drive the meaningful outcome that we care about? So for context, like where I learned this was from one of the first VPs of product at Netflix. I attended one of his workshops, and what he mentioned was when he was at Netflix, like one of the biggest challenges that they were trying to improve on was improving the watch time of every Netflix user. They were really trying hard. That was like the lagging metric that they cared about. They wanted more people spending more time on Netflix, and that's hard to change that behavior, right? It's a lagging thing. It happens after the fact. So for them, they really focused on proxy metrics, leading metrics. I forget exactly what it was for them. I think it was like the number of results found in relation to searches. So basically they would track, like if you would search on the Netflix platform, did you actually find the thing you're looking for? And then did you click through on the thing? The other thing that they test is the cover images of all of the movies and shows, and they measure the click-through rate of those things as well. So, because their whole premise is if somebody doesn't find what they're looking for and they don't click through, then they're never going to watch in the first place. So those are examples of leading metrics that they control, that they track, that they optimize towards to improve their lagging metrics. So for you, in the case of like LinkedIn ads, if your strategy is focusing on promoting blog content, and the whole thesis here is the more blogs that this audience reads, the more brand affinity and trust I will create, then ask yourself, like, what is a proxy metric? What is a leading metric that you can create to measure consumption of that blog content? So that might be something like an engaged visit. That could be somebody that scrolls 75% of the way through your page and they stay for at least a minute. That's a much better signal for you as a leading metric to optimize towards versus somebody that just like clicked my ad, right? What does that really mean? It doesn't really help you understand if it's proving true to your experiment and your thesis. On the flip side, the lagging metric could be somebody actually signing up for a free trial or converting. So set up your conversion tracking. If you guys want more on this, let me know in the comments. And again, like in our LinkedIn ads courses that are free, Jan does a really good job too, and he walks you through conversion tracking. Moving on is, now that we've set up the campaign configurations, is the actual ads. So for the ads, for using thought leader ads, like to just close out this demonstration, I'm going to browse existing content. And then you can see here, these are ads that like we're running for AdConversion on the agency side of our business. You can see here company page. So like I can take my company page content and I can promote it as an ad. But where the real magic happens if you use LinkedIn members, and now I can use any LinkedIn member as long as they give me approval. So that could be your founder, your CEO, your employees, your clients, etc. So like I'll just use myself as the sake of demonstration, and I can take some of my ads. So like for example, this one here on 3 common mistakes people do with like LinkedIn CAPI implementations, and I can take this and I can promote it as an ad. Generally speaking, our rule of thumb when we are, recommending how many ad variations we should have in a campaign, what we recommend is ideally 3 active ads. I know LinkedIn recommends 5, but the reason why we say 3 and not 5 is because if we're spending minimum $50 a day per campaign, we want to make sure each campaign or each ad gets enough volume, gets enough spend before turning it off. And if we were to add in 2 more active variations, then that means like each variation is only getting $10 a day in daily spend. It's just going to take infinitely longer. And we really want to improve our testing cycle and velocity so that way our ads learn much faster. So one last thing I will leave with you guys here with on ads, like just to add these 2 things here as an example, is once you launch your campaigns, if you notice that your ads aren't getting equal delivery, so like one ad is getting the lion's share of the budget, the other one's not really getting much, and it's hard for you to see like, okay, is the second variation actually going to have a worthwhile shot in terms of performance? You can come here and you can switch the ad rotation option from optimize for performance to rotate ads evenly. I used to be of the mind that you just leave it rotate ads evenly and then you get that equal distribution. Now I'm kind of 50-50 and I keep swapping back and forth. So whether you want to just start rotate ads evenly and then, like monitor it and then make the adjustments, or you want to start optimize for performance. And then if you run into that problem, you switch to rotate ads evenly, you can see for yourself when that comes up. But that is essentially it, guys. Like, I hope this video is helpful and it really taught you how to think about LinkedIn ads, how to get started in terms of your budget, some strategies to get started with, and how to actually avoid like common traps that beginners fall into when launching their first campaigns. If you like this kind of content, if you can do me a favor, like this video, subscribe to the channel for more. And if you want to dive deeper into LinkedIn ads, like I said, we provide free courses at AdConversion. 5,000 plus B2B marketers are taking our courses. They're actually free. I promise, like there's no upsell here. Our whole thing is we provide free courses because we want to create a place on the internet where we can learn how to run ads from start to finish. Because when I was learning how to run ads and coming up, I would get ripped off by like gurus and coaches that like, just they were full of crap. So we want to avoid that, and we wanted to create a special place. So that's why our courses are free. The only paid offer we have is our community. So if you want to go deeper, you want to ask questions, you want to connect, you want playbooks, etc., that's what our community is for. But you can check out these 3 courses from Jan, who is an absolute beast at LinkedIn ads. And our 101 course is great because it'll give you really good context and a crash course on how to get started and launch your first campaign. 102 is really nice because it'll teach you now that your campaigns are launched, how to actually optimize them, make them better. And then the 103 campaign is really great that now that you've optimized, congrats, how do you do more? How do you drive it to the next level? So that is it for this video. Thanks so much for watching. If you want more content on LinkedIn ads here on YouTube, then check out this video here, and I'll see you guys in the next one.